Chapter 8. The Future of Autosuggestion. It may be interesting at this point to move forward a little and take a glance at the future of autosuggestion. I have no doubt in my mind that the principles of autosuggestion are now firmly established, and that a sound basis for the practical application has been prepared. That application is bound to become more and more general as the principles become more widely known, especially among medical practitioners. I cannot too strongly insist that autosuggestion, so far from being in conflict with medical science, is in perfect harmony with it, and is destined to develop into one of the most powerful curative elements at the disposal of physicians. There was a period of considerable activity in psychological research at the end of the last century, when Coue and the famous Salpeter schools took the lead in proclaiming the curative possibilities of idea or suggestion. Libol and Bernheim and Nancy were also in the vanguard of the same movement. Psychological research halted by materialism and fatalism. They had followed a spell of skepticism and materialism. Thought was declared to be nothing but a secretion of the brain, and conscience a mere mass of sensations, condemned to be the plaything of circumstance. Our ills were irreplaceable, because inherited, and it was of no avail to fight against the legacy of the past. This conception colored the philosophy of the day, transformed poets into pessimists, and made doctors fatalists. Psychology seemed to be severed completely from philosophy. Ideas were considered to be effects, incapable of ever being causes. Doubt and pessimism gained the minds of the intellectual class and percolated through the masses. Abstract philosophical ideas practically applied for therapeutic purposes, but the reaction was at hand. Soon a new and brighter and saner philosophy emerged, with Bergson and the others, to reveal the amazing natural forces at our own command, which had been so long ignored or neglected. If I mention myself here, it is simply to say that I have done nothing more than to demonstrate the possibility for every one of utilizing for his own physical and moral well-being the force of the subconscious revealed by the diffused, abstract notions of the new school of philosophy. Others will carry on the work, but I think I may say that the basis of a new practical philosophy with definite therapeutic applications has now been laid. It is admitted that the human mind is a much greater force than was believed formerly. Facts, cures obtained by suggestion and autosuggestion in cases even of organic diseases, have come to prove the importance of the idea in the treatment of bodily ills. Institutes for practice of autosuggestion being built up in London, Paris, and New York. From the purely experimental stage, the doctrine of autosuggestion is ripe enough to enter the domain of universal application. Already in Paris, it is being carried forward to the crest of a big scientific movement, which bids fair to grow rapidly under the leadership of a group of enthusiastic members of the medical faculty, philosophers, and savants. An institute for the teaching and practice of autosuggestion has been founded, and I hope to see others created in other cities in all parts of the world. One will soon be in existence in New York. At the Paris Institute, a corps of trained men and women, some belonging to the medical profession, like my disciple, Dr. Pierre Vacher. Professor and Dr. Vieira constitute a permanent teaching staff whose mission is to spread, by explanation and experiments, the knowledge of the so-called mysterious forces which we all possess, and to show patients how to use them to the advantage of their own health. Autosuggestion, then, is becoming more and more an experimental science, and an element of the first order in the domain of therapeutics, as well as those of sociology and education. The creation of institutes, such as that of Paris, will, I am convinced, be a powerful stimulant to the study of the wonderful resources of our subconscious self. Development of applied psychology just beginning. Applied psychology, the vast development of which we are only just beginning, will teach us to know ourselves better, to possess ourselves more completely, to control the supreme powers with which nature has endowed us, and to use them for the development of our character and of our physical, intellectual, and moral well-being. The subject far outstrips the individual. Society as a whole will benefit by man's self-mastery. The doctor has been called the last of the magicians, but we can all be much greater than the magician by merely utilizing the stupendous moral power and cerebral energy latent within us. Revivifying intelligence paralyzed by doubt or ignorance, regenerate the physical organism, strengthen the moral fiber. Such are the aims to be attained, presaging an ennobling of human nature, the consequence of which cannot easily be calculated. By means within reach of all, we shall secure an advancement of humanity, and it will be possible for everyone to feel within himself or herself the growth of that sublime force which elevates one both morally and physically. Perhaps one day the dreams of the utopias may be realized, and humanity will shake off the chains of materialism which still separate us from what we think to be supernatural knowledge, by which in reality is already in us, only waiting to be discerned. Who knows, perhaps prisons may become unnecessary, when we will have learned how even evil and evil-doing can be overcome by suggestion. Backward children will be made normal, and the wayward ones taught through their subconscious to become good and useful citizens. People are still ignorant of the immense benefits to the individual and to society be obtained by autosuggestion, employed for curative and educational purposes. But the light is spreading, and it will not be long before the new science has its place definitely among psychological, sociological, and medical studies. Autosuggestion may develop more rapidly in America than in Europe. Perhaps the study and practice of autosuggestion is destined to make swifter strides on the American side of the Atlantic than in Europe. I do not know. I do know, however, that hundreds of American men and women have not hesitated to cross the ocean in order to probe my system at Nancy. In America, I found myself among a host of friends and followers, all keen to help the propagation of the idea of autosuggestion. Converts of such energy must necessarily be a tremendous power, so that I am quite prepared to see the science pushed forward and developed more extensively in the dynamic atmosphere of the New World than in my own country. End of chapter.